Bahrain used to be the hub for insurance and reinsurance activity in the Middle Eastern region, but that is changing according to my next guest. I'm Yvette Essen for AM Best TV, joined by Salman Siddiqui, Director of Analytics, to talk through a new report that highlights this trend. Perhaps we could step back first of all and look at the reasons why Bahrain did have that status in the first place.
Well, sure. One of the reasons is that they were one of the first countries in the Middle East to set up cohesive, comprehensive regulations for financial services in the region. They set up a strong regulator in the form of the Central Bank of Bahrain, and that gave investors the confidence to set up their operations over there. So companies like AXA, ACE, which is now Chubb, Hanover, all set up operations in Bahrain to access the region. And obviously the banks also followed, the brokers also followed, and that led to Bahrain becoming the hub for insurance and reinsurance in the region.
So what happened? What changed that? I mean, you mentioned regulation there. Did the regulation stagnate in Bahrain? Did other rival markets catch up, or was it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. I think if we look at the former first, Bahraini regulations evolved, do continue to evolve, but they evolve incrementally and at a very slow pace. We'd say that Bahraini regulations, as far as insurance is concerned, are probably more akin to Solvency I rather than a risk-based approach, which some of their peers have. And then we look at the wider region, we look at places like the UAE and Qatar, who have implemented risk-based regimes more like Solvency II, more in line with international standards. So they have overtaken Bahrain in terms of the sophistication of their regulations. And then obviously you have jurisdictions like the DIFC and the QCB that also mean that those regulations are probably more in line with what their Western investors want to see.
Can we talk about another trend that was highlighted in the report, and that was M&A activity, merger and acquisitions? What is driving consolidation, and do we expect that to happen going forward?
So we saw two fairly big transactions in recent years. The first one was GIG Bahrain's acquisition of Takaful International, which was now rebranded as GIG Bahrain Takaful. And then we saw Solidarity's acquisition of Al Ahliya. Both transactions are basically driven by market growth. Now, Bahrain is a small market, it's a closed market, and opportunities for organic growth are quite limited. So it's not surprising to see companies look for inorganic approaches to acquire market share. Now, going forward, do we expect to see more? I wouldn't be surprised to see more because, again, opportunities for growth are limited, so companies would look for inorganic expansion. But I wouldn't expect to see large ticket items. We'd expect to see smaller ticket items going through.
Finally, can we talk about our ratings in that particular country, in Bahrain? What were some of the trends that we observed, and in particular, is there anything that we will be focusing on or expecting going forward?
So we saw a lot of rating activity in Bahrain in the last year or so, in the last 18 months, I'd say. The biggest headline-grabbing, I guess, items were the two reinsurance companies, ARIG and Trust, which were both downgraded and then subsequently withdrew from the rating process. That obviously they're both for different reasons, and obviously has implications for Bahrain as a reinsurance hub, and those reasons are available online. There are also other rating activity on the insurance companies. So Psycho, which is under a brand name of Damana, was downgraded due to the loss of its international partnerships. Then LICI was downgraded multi-notches actually this time, and that was driven by its loss of risk-adjusted capitalizations and our concerns around risk management. On the more positive side, Solidarity Bahrain now has a positive outlook on its ICR, and that's driven by the fact of its enhanced business profile due to its acquisition of Al Ahliya and merger with Al Ahliya.
A copy of AM Best report on the Bahraini insurance and reinsurance market can be found on ambest.com. For AM Best TV, I'm Yvette Essen.